All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we talk about how Halloween went here at the LPDS compound. We get into some vegetable garden updates a little bit. And of course, we got to talk about the World Series. All that, plus the cage fact coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. Show that talks about nothing but finds the lessons and everything. We try to have a good time doing it. Got to be honest with you. I don't think the Junction's going to be a great time, folks. But we're still going to try to have a good time and have some fun throughout the episode a little bit. So stick with me here. Hope everybody had a good week. I had a pretty good week. I had to do a lot of studying. I mentioned some opportunities that have been going on behind the scenes to help grow, spearhead leadership and all that stuff. So I had a test to certify in this one thing for this one opportunity that I'm not going to get into right now because it's still not completely, it's not real yet. We're not doing the do. So I like to keep things a little closer to the chest until that's all, played out a little bit. I don't know if that's like a superstition thing or I don't want to jinx it or whatever it is. But when I'm in it, we'll talk about it. But I did get one step closer. I passed the certification test I needed to pass. And basically what it's going to be is I'm teaming up with somebody else and we're sort of going to be acting as referral sources for each other in the long term to help build our own, empires. So part of that process is being done right now. There's a lot of short-term things that need to get done before the long-term stuff happens. So all good things though. So it's nice that I have a break now. I don't have to study like I did this, last week, and I can relax a little bit and focus more on other stuff that's going on in life. Hope everybody had a good Halloween. I know we talked about it last week. Thanks to those who sent pictures of their Halloween costumes. It was none of you. So thanks, I guess. But I hope everybody did enjoy their Halloween, and if you have kids, I hope they enjoyed it too. It's a fun thing to do with the kids. It might get a little crazy. I don't know. I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know how that would be with children, but I remember Halloween being super fun when I was a kid, and I hope my parents enjoyed it at least a little bit. So I hope you guys did too as well. I finally broke the streak. The LPDS compound broke the streak of no Halloween trick-or-treaters coming in the house, and we finally got trick-or-treaters. It was exciting. A little crazy because Randy didn't know how to handle it. Obviously, I didn't know how to handle it in the beginning, but kids came. Luckily, I made a last second decision to actually buy candy again. I was thinking to myself, man, 7 years in a row or 8 years in a row, I bought candy and I ended up eating it myself. And that's not too good, for my personal gains goals. But I was like, nah, I went to the gym and I grabbed a couple bags of candy just in case. And thankfully I did because a ton of kids came out. And it was mostly kids from there's some projects across the street or down the street, I guess you could say a couple blocks away. And they came out over to this end of the neighborhood, which is a smart move because my neighborhood is mostly like retirees, some older people, and they're pretty wealthy. So they're they're putting out good candy. We have the one guy every year at the end of the street that does the big like haunted house, haunted yard sort of situation. He does a really good job. It's awesome. So they all come out to that and they get good candy out of it. So I was happy they did. I gave out Reese's. It was a combination of regular Reese's cups and the Reese's pumpkins to give them a little variety. Now there was one kid that was getting a little greedy, and luckily the mom put a stop to it. This kid was a toddler. I'm talking like they must have just started walking like a couple days ago. Easy over there, Randy. I got some fireworks going on outside, and Randy gets rambunctious when he hears fireworks. So this barely walking toddler couldn't talk, definitely couldn't talk, starts just going in handful after handful after handful of candy and taking down the bowl pretty quickly. And luckily, I didn't want to be the one to disappoint somebody else's kid. I was about to say, hey, don't forget the other kids need to get some as well. But luckily the mom stepped in and I think she said something like, hey, what do you think you're doing? Put him back. You get one. And the kid put it back. So that was pretty funny, but good costumes all around. It was a fun time. I was very happy. My bowl got emptied at 25 minutes, maybe, if that. Quick work. I felt kind of bad, but I had to turn the lights out outside to let them know, like, I'm out. Now, hopefully they realize, like, oh, this guy's just out of candy and not being a dick bag, but had to be done. So I was happy about the whole endeavor, and it was a good time. Good time had by all. Sorry, I had to stop the video real quick because Randy was getting too annoying. So if there's choppiness in the feed, that's why. But Halloween was fun this year. Next year. I really want to make it a point to like get some stuff up outside the house and to just sit out there. Maybe rock a costume or something, and just enjoy the kids being happy out there and getting candy and dressing up and having a good time. That's fun, and it's, again, as we mentioned, it's the beginning of the Holy Holiday Triumvirate. So now we're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of the Holy Holiday Triumvirate and the Winter Arc. It's all happening right now, and it's an exciting time. And for us at the LPDS here in the universe, it's going to be very exciting because we're in the arc. We're arced up with the Holy Holiday Triumvirate. It's going to be great. We're going to enjoy the festivities of the holidays, and we're also going to be getting after our goals and making waves and getting way ahead of everybody else. So good stuff all around. Anyway, moving on. We're going to move on to the garden talk, vegetable garden talk. I still got a lot of peppers. It's been great. We had a bit of a windstorm recently. It had a little bit of rain, which I was happy about because we haven't had rain in my neck of the woods in a little while. So we got some rain and we got a lot of wind. So it was tipping the plants, the pepper plants, because they're full of peppers. And some of them can be picked, some can't. They're not ripe yet, but those things are heavy now. So I had to get out there in the wind and rain to shore them up. And my tomato plants are growing. They're all taller than me. This is the mistake I made. I had to be better for next year. When I planted the seeds in the pots, I sprinkled seeds in each pot just to give them the best chance of growing. And when they grew, it was like 4, 5, 6, 7 tomato plants that grew out of them because I put a bunch of seeds in each one. And instead of separating those out, I just took the pots and I planted them all together. So I had 6 pots of tomatoes and I planted 6 separate areas in the ground outside when they got bigger. So each planted section of the tomatoes is like 6, 7 plants. And these things are big, and at the top they're bushy and full with flowers, and the tomatoes are starting to grow now, big time. Like it was sporadic before. Now I have to have at least 4 or 5 tomatoes on each plant. and I can't even see it's so bushy and cluttered up at the top that I can't even see inside to see where all their tomatoes are growing. It's insane. And they're getting heavy, and I had to put a bunch of different stakes, and I've been tying it around. I got a tangled web of stakes and twine, and it's tied to the stakes, and it's tied to the foam pole out there and to my fence to try to keep these things up because they're heavy. And I was not prepared for this level of growth for my tomatoes. Year after year, I've had shrimpy, wimpy, triple B tomato plants. So I was not prepared. I made that mistake. And now I know for next year, I'm going to separate them. And so instead of having 6 clumps, I'll plant them around my entire property so that they're free and clear. They can be supported a lot easier, and they can all grow tomatoes, and everything will be hunky dory. But the tomatoes are starting to come in now in droves. Now it's going to take a while for them to get ripe. Like it could be December. It takes a long time for these things to grow. There's a tomato on the plant that's just turning red now that has been on that plant for almost 2 months. I've been tracking it, and it's just ripening and turning red now. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep these things going, and I'm probably going to leave. It's probably going to be till Christmas. Even then, I'm gonna leave them up. I'm not gonna water them anymore because I'm gonna be going home to New Jersey for Christmas. But we're keeping these things going until the wheels fall off, and hopefully we get enough tomatoes to make some sauce. I'm still hopeful. For a while I thought it wasn't gonna happen. Now I'm a little bit more hopeful, but now we're against the winter time. In January, it gets cold enough that it will kill the plants, especially at night. It will get cold enough in January and February timeframe where they will not grow anymore. So there's a window now. There's a window of opportunity. We got to get this figured out. So we'll see how it goes. A lot of learning got done this year. I was very happy with the process and what we've gotten so far. And I'm very excited for what we're going to end up with, and then also for next year too, because we're just gonna keep learning, growing, and improving, and we're gonna get more and more tomato success and more pepper success. Man, those peppers are good. Let me tell you, because I know some of you are no tomato, and there's a lot of no tomato families out there. So I get it, I understand, but we got peppers too for you. So we're gonna keep this train rolling, and we're gonna keep growing. So very excited for that. All right, what else we got? I'm trying to keep this quick because I'm already getting angry thinking about the Junction. And how I am when I'm angry. I flap my gills all day, and nobody wants to listen to it. So last episode, I talked about bums in the gym. I think it was last episode. I don't even remember anymore. I did not put the question out to the internets because I didn't get the feedback I got from it. People didn't seem to care either way. Plus, I have no updates from the bums at my gym, so it didn't seem worth it enough to put it out there and bother you guys with it of what your thoughts were. If you have thoughts and you want to chime in the hotline, give it a call, 202-670-1114, and then go listen to the previous episode where you get more of the context in it. But I don't have any updates. The guy never came back. I haven't seen him since. I never went to ask the front desk either. It wasn't really a big deal to me because he never showed up again. And also he wasn't being a problem, so I don't know. If there are updates worth talking about, or if somebody has a question or an opinion about it worth talking about, we'll bring it up again. But otherwise, there's really no other bum gym updates. So that's that. And I don't really have much else to talk about current events wise. There's not a whole lot going on. I got the Spearhead podcast prepped and ready to start recording to get some episodes out. I didn't do it this week because I was doing some studying. So I'll start to do some batch recording. I don't think the episodes will be too long, maybe 20, 30 minutes tops, unless I have a guest on. So we're talking about leadership. I got to figure all that out, but I want to start getting that out there to start giving people some value, hopefully. So we're working on that. Otherwise, not a whole lot new things, in the LPDS universe, which it's fine. But you know me, I'm a routine guy. I'm deep in the routine of the winter arc, and we're doing just fine. So with that, we'll move right along, get into the good stuff. Well, sort of the good stuff. I'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by the New York Mets. Hey, Yankee fans, are you tired of your team's general manager and coach lying to your face about having a good team year in and year out and spending their money well, only to have them shit the bed once again in magnificent fashion? Then come on over to Flushing, Queens and be a Mets fan. The Mets are a no-nonsense ball club that tells you straight up that they're going to suck every year, so you know what to expect. And the only surprise is when they get a little Mets magic and are actually good for a change. So if you want to relax, watch a baseball game, and not get any of the lies and heartache and bullshit, join the Mets fan club today by visiting www.littlebrother.com. And if you use the promo code We Know We Suck, you'll get $29 off your first ticket. I'm getting there. I'm really getting there, folks. Might join the Mets fan club. I don't know yet. It's getting real close. Anyway, the Cage fact. Well, here's a little fun and a little good stuff we're talking about. Back in 2011, Nic Cage did a movie called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. We've talked about it many times on the show here. It's a fantastic film. I think it's a Disney film, honestly. And he worked with co-star Jay Baruchel. I don't know if I'm butchering his name or not. He was the apprentice, and Nic Cage was a sorcerer. So Jay Baruchel did an interview a couple years ago, maybe, on Conan O'Brien, I think it was. And he was talking about Nic Cage, and Conan O'Brien's obviously fascinating with Nic Cage, as he should be. And he was asking about him, and Jay was talking to him. He's saying Nic Cage is super humble, really works hard, and he's just a unique individual, and everything about him is unique, from how he acts to his work style to his story. Everything about him is one of a kind. And he started sharing a story. So one day they're getting ready to do some filming, and he asked Nick, "Hey, how was your night?" Thinking he was going to get back like either, "Oh, it's fine," or "I didn't sleep well." Like some of the standard answers when you're doing that, when it becomes small talk, like "How was your night?" Most people use it as small talk. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to find out about people's lives and evenings, and how they're doing and stuff. So I'll make it a point to be like, "Hey, give me more. I'm actually interested." But he said he was asking small talk wise, like, "Hey, how's your night?" Expecting a normal answer. And Nic Cage comes back with, I had a really bad dream last night that this shrimp humanoid came into my trailer or wherever he was sleeping, my room, and he had a shrimp for a head and a human body. So regular human body with arms and legs, and then a shrimp head, like the food, the fish, the seafood, shrimp. And he said the shrimp just pointed at me and just said, "Shrimp, you fuck! Shrimp, you fuck!" Now, I'm sorry, T, family show. I'm just saying the quote, okay? And just a fair warning to all the families out there right now: turn the Junction off, because it's not going to be family friendly. I promise you. Anyway, that's what he said, and he said and then I woke up, and Jay was kind of taken aback. He didn't know what to think of it, and then before he can even respond, Nic Cage goes, "I drew it so you knew what I was talking about, so you can see what I saw. My assistant has it." And he said about 20 minutes later, Nic Cage's assistant, who I need to become, I don't know how you get that job, but I need that job, comes over And then he says, "Excuse me, sir. Mr. Cage wanted you to have this to see this." And he said, "Sure as shit, it's a picture of a human body with a shrimp head pointing like this." And he wrote the quote in there. And I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't save that picture. He didn't bring it with him on the show. I hope he did save the picture. If he did, if he still kept it, I hope. I don't know what I'm saying. I hope he kept the picture and he just forgot to bring it or something like that. But everything about Nic Cage is one of a kind. Everything about him is one of a kind. Even his dreams, nobody's having a dream like that, and then nobody's telling the story like that. Where like who's he? He's just telling his coworker. Like I'm not telling my coworkers my dreams. I barely tell my friends my dreams. They don't want to hear that stuff. And he's just telling his coworker, and then he drew it to illustrate, hey, you don't believe me? Check out this amateur sketch right here of what I witnessed. It's just Cage-tastic. That's all I can say. It's just Cage-tastic, and I'm here for it. So that's the Cage fact. Moving on over to the Junction. Spin the logo up. We're talking about the Yankees collapse. And I call it a collapse mainly because of what transpired in the last game. Now, here's a quick LPS caveat for everybody. If you're not into baseball, if you don't care that much, you're not going to care about this Junction. I won't be mad if you turn it off now. Don't care. Like, that's fine. I'm talking about the Yankees and the World Series. I bitch about it in current events, usually in the beginning of shows. This needs an entire a Junction dedication to how bad they are and how angry I am. So if you're not into baseball, if you don't like the Yankees, if you don't care about this stuff, this is what it's going to be. I would tell you to fast forward or skip chapters on YouTube until you get to the big three. If you want to learn how to be a better person, go just skip to the big three. Okay. I wanted to record this episode like Saturday night late after a Game 7 victory for the Yankees and had some good news to provide the Junction. I even contemplated putting out like a Sunday afternoon episode as opposed to Sunday at midnight so that I can let the series play out and then be able to provide the World Series recap of happy times and ticker tapes and what have yous. But unfortunately, the series didn't make it that far. Okay? It did not make it that far. My prediction was wrong, and I'll give myself half credit. I did say I predicted the Yankees in 7 because I wanted them to win, and I didn't think they were going to be able to do it anything less than 7 games. But I didn't really think they were going to win. I just wanted them to. So my prediction was wrong. Randy, shut up. And it happened in such a way that only the 21st century Yankees can do. I don't want to say the Yankees in general. It's this last 20 years of the Yankees. The last 15 years of the Yankees would be able, this is how they are. This collapse. Now, what else I got wrong here? Okay. So I got the prediction wrong, obviously. I said Yanks in 7, Dodgers 1 in 5. And they really should have swept. It was a fluke Game 4, but the Dodgers did it in 5. I was wrong about that. I was also very wrong, and I completely underestimated how down the league was in general, how bad the league was. Because it gave me. Sorry, I had to pause again because Randy was getting crazy. There must be a possum or something outside now. Guy can't. He's just no discipline, and that's my fault. That's my fault that Randy's lacking discipline right now because I haven't trained him well enough. Anyway, I was wrong about how bad the league was. because I incorrectly got a little shred of hope thinking the Yanks might have a chance to pull this off after they came, after they won the ALCS and knocked out the Guardians, who had arguably the best bullpen in the major leagues this year, and they beat them. They beat that bullpen. Looking back now, the signs were there. The signs were there. I mean, we talked a little bit about it previously, where the Cleveland, they lost their games. The Yankees didn't necessarily win them, but the Indians, the Guardians, whatever you call them, they made enough mistakes that it was almost like the Yankees couldn't lose those games. The Yankees made a lot of mistakes too, both on the field and through their manager, Boone. That got overshadowed by the fact that they won. So I got this fake shred of hope thinking like, oh, maybe they should be in the World Series. The only reason why they should have been in the World Series, and this is where I think the analysts and the data guys did get it correct. When I remember I talked about how they said the Yanks had the 18% chance of winning the World Series. It was, the Dodgers had they were favored and the Yanks were right there and they were neck and neck on who was going to win. And I was like, how do they think that? The Yankees are dog shit. It's because the rest of the league was super dog shit. And I missed it. And the teams that were actually good were the Dodgers. Despite their injuries, they still had an all-star lineup. I'll get into that in a second. The Dodgers, the Padres were playing like the best team in baseball the last 2 months of the season, and the Mets were playing like the second best team in baseball the last 2 months of the season. That's it. The rest of the teams were nothing but with holes and just down baseball, I'll call it. The whole league was down. Yeah, you had a lot of studs out there throwing over 100 miles an hour, but they were just throwing hard, and they have filthy spin on their sliders and curveballs, but they weren't actually pitching. They weren't working the count, figuring out how to throw to each batter. Nobody can locate a pitch. If I look back, too, and I looked at it during the World Series, and I looked back at other games too, reevaluating what I got wrong, and I'm looking at it, and you can see where the catchers are setting up their gloves and where the balls actually end up, where the pitchers actually end up. These guys were not pitching much at all. Most of the pitchers out there were not pitchers at all this year. They were hard throwers with filthy spin on their curveballs, and that's all the coaches and scouts and managers cared about. And that's why everyone's getting Tommy John surgeries, because that's inevitable. When you throw 100 miles an hour with the mechanics that you have and those nasty curveballs, just do this. If you're looking at YouTube land, just do this spin, this motion with your hand, your throwing hand. You can feel it down your arm. You can feel it all down your arm, how it is. Now, do that at a speed and a level of a professional baseball player, and do it 50 times a day to 100 times a day. You're going to tear an ACL. No wonder they want 4-inning, outings from pitchers and pitch counts and stuff, because they know it's a ticking time bomb when they're going to need surgery and their tendons just snap. But they're not creating it. They didn't create any pitchers. And they don't have to, because they're not creating any good hitters either. Regular season Aaron Judge, I'll caveat that, LPDS caveat there, and we'll talk about that. Regular season Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Bobby Witt, and a small handful of others throughout the league are the only hitters and batters at a professional level. Everybody else just tries to hit a home run and swing for the fences every single time. They don't care about strikeouts. Even those guys don't. Even the guys I just mentioned don't care too much about strikeouts anymore. Aaron Judge still strikes out over 100 times a year. Nobody cares. But these guys their batting average are high. Everybody else is batting 240, 230. They have 15 to 30 home runs. and 100 to 200 strikeouts. And they don't care that. And it's because the managers and the GMs and the front offices don't care, because they want home runs and they want exit velo, because that's what fans want to see. They want to see home runs and hard hit balls. So because of that, they get up to the plate, the same approach, regardless of who's pitching, regardless of the situation, regardless of the magnitude of the game or what inning it is or what's going on, nothing. They don't change anything for anything. Same approach. 2 strikes, they're still swinging for the fences. They don't change. They're slumping. They don't change shit. All they try to do is hit as hard as they can, get home runs, and exit velo. And I sound like one of those whining old timers. Back in my day, we knew how to hit. This is technically my day still. If I was professional level, I'd be on the tail end of my career, but I'd still very much be in my career. Okay? There are plenty 36, 37, 38-year-olds out there. Albert Pujols played till he was 55. So, and he hit 700 home runs when he was at age 55. He took steroids. There's no doubt in my mind about that, but he was playing. So this is still technically part of my era of baseball. And you could just see how garbage the league has become. Okay? And they're not developing players in the minors. They're not doing it in college, I guess. They're not doing it in high school. All you see in high school and college and even Little League now is they're just copying the pros with their puss pads and their elbow pads and their oven mitts. I saw the Little League World Series. They're wearing oven mitts. They can't even head first slide. They're not even allowed to dive in Little League. And they're wearing oven mitts. For what? Like, coaches, say something. Like, teach these kids common sense. Because when they get to the pros, they're expected to know that. And guess what? Guess who doesn't know that shit right now? Most professional baseball players, especially this year, especially the Yankees. So I was very wrong about that. The league was down, and the Yankees skated by. Now, I talked about it a little bit during the playoffs when I said the Yankees had the easiest road to the playoffs, and that's now I know why. Also, we talked about how the Yankees had an opportunity to really do some damage at the trade deadline and get a couple of players just to fill 1 or 2 holes in their lineup and take over the division and coast. Just think if they made 1 or 2 better moves than they did. They got Jazz Chisholm. He's okay. We'll talk about him in the playoffs, though, because he really wasn't okay in the playoffs. He batted like 112. He didn't even bat his weight. So that didn't help them in the playoffs much. But they got Jazz Chisholm, and they got Mark Leiter, who surprisingly didn't do terrible in the playoffs, even though he shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's who they got. Imagine they got 1 or 2 better guys to fill some holes a little bit better. Now put them in the World Series. Could have been a different series. Jazz Chisholm he contributed almost nothing to the success. Almost nothing. Now, I'm not saying absolutely nothing. He did have like a home run here and there, a double here and there, but he batted like 140. Okay? He was a nothing. All right? If they made these moves, just put the effort in. Think about what would have happened. Cashman did not do that. He decided to skate by, knowing the league is down, the league stinks, so we don't have to be as good. We can save some money, and we can show up and then take the gamble in the playoffs and see how it plays out. Well, here's how it played out, Cashman. You guys got embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed in the World Series. Some of the worst I've seen in a long time. You could say the collapse in 04 and the 04 ALCS to the Red Sox was the most embarrassing. I don't know, though, because the Red Sox were good. They did go on to win the World Series. It was shameful that they got that complacent and let it happen. but I don't remember the games being that bad until the last game where Boston really just closed the lid on it. But I don't remember the Yankees making the errors and mental mistakes and mental mistakes and mental mistakes and physical mistakes and all that badly as they did in this World Series. I don't remember seeing that. This might have been the worst I've seen from the Yankees ever, in my opinion. I don't remember, obviously late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember that much. But they clearly weren't good because they didn't win any World Series. So I don't know. I don't remember how bad they were. They could have been worse than, I don't know. But absolutely embarrassing show at the World Series. Absolutely embarrassing. The first 6 innings, the first 6 innings of game 1 was pretty electric. The back and forth of the game up until the point. Well, I'll get into the recap in a second here. The second thing I got wrong. I'm losing it here. I'm sorry, folks. The second big thing I got wrong was I didn't realize just how bad of a manager Aaron Boone really is. Okay? I always thought he was all right. I liked how he would die for the team. He would defend them for anything all the time, even when it got annoying. He never said anything bad about the guys on the team, ever, even when they were sucking it up. But I realized in the playoffs that Aaron Boone is not a wartime consigliere. Okay? And for those of you who don't know the Godfather reference, consigliere is the advisor in the mob, and you need a consigliere in the wartime that can advise you on how to go after one of the other families and stuff in wartime consigliere. He's not that. He is not a playoff coach. He is a peacetime, regular season, kind of go with the flow kind of coach when nothing really matters according to their GM and their ownership. They don't really care that much. If you lose games, if you blow games, if you make stupid managerial decisions, whatever, just be good enough so we can shut the fans up and tell them, hey, we tried. It was a pretty good effort like they did last year. Hey, we got over 500 at least, so that's good. Just enough to shut us up and keep lying to us. That's it. That's all you got to do is just be good enough, and you'll stay in your job. And as soon as he got tested, shit the bed. He absolutely shit the bed. And he shit the bed in the ALDS and the ALCS as well, but it all got overshadowed because the Yankees won those series. Okay? And it got overshadowed 2 years ago when they won the series against the Indians, and then they got absolutely embarrassed by the Astros. This one was still worse, by the way. The Astros, they just never showed up at all. The Astros walked all over them for 4 games or however many games they played in the ALCS, and that was that. But it got all overshadowed because they didn't make the World Series. So it was like, oh, well, we came close, but whatever. This absolutely put the nail in the coffin to confirm that Aaron Boone is not a good manager. He's a friend. He's the Yankees, the team's pal. And he's just a bad manager. And it started in inning 6 of that game, of game 1 of the World Series. It started before that, but again, it got overshadowed because the Yankees won. He made stupid decisions. He overmanaged. He undermanaged. Everything was a bad decision if you look back. Hindsight, obviously, 2020, but that was the other thing I got big time wrong. I thought he was okay. I didn't mind him. I even said, like, I don't think it's his fault while the Yankees stink because he's just doing, he's coaching what he has. He's putting out the team that he was given to him. But now I realize how wrong I was on that. And now we'll talk real quick about the recap because the more I talk about the angrier I get. The only good parts basically of the entire series, you can argue game 4 because the Yankees won. But whatever. It was almost like the Dodgers just gave it to them. They were like, whatever, you can have it. first couple innings of game one, even most of that game was electric, but the Yankees lost the series when Aaron Boone took out his number one pitcher, Garrett Cole. I think it was the sixth inning or beginning of the seventh inning at 88 pitches. And he was dicing them up. Okay? He was dicing them up. And the Yankees, I believe, were winning at the time, too. And he took him out. And sure as shit, they tied the game. And sure as shit, they went to extra innings. And sure as shit, in extra innings, after another couple bonehead decisions by Boone, the Dodgers won the game. The Yankees were winning the game in extra innings in the 10th inning. All they had to do was shut the door, and they won game one. That's the goal. When you're playing away in a 7-game series and you don't have home field advantage, and you're away for the first 2 games, the goal is to win once. Split that game and put it in a little mini series. It's a 2-game series. It's a 3-game series at home, and it's a 2-game series back away. The goal is to split that first series. There's 2 games. You want to take at least one, and that was their chance. They had the game. And several bonehead decisions by Aaron Boone, taking Garrett Cole out. Then he put Tommy Kahnle in for one batter or whatever, and the guy was dicing him up with his stupid changeup. I can't believe the guy throws only changeups, and he's been getting away with it the whole time. He took him out after he was doing well, and he puts Clay Holmes in, gives up runs. Shocker. Then he puts Luke Weaver in. He takes Luke Weaver out, and he puts in Nestor. Now, I love Nestor. And at the time, I didn't think it was a bad decision because, A, it was they wanted to have a lefty on lefty, so that kind of made sense. And B, and more importantly for me, Nestor Cortez did not pitch at all in the postseason. So the Dodgers had no tape to watch and scout to find out how he was doing in the postseason so they can try to figure out a way to get around it. So I thought that was okay, let's give it a shot. He got Ohtani out, which was good. They walked Mookie Betts, who was 0 for 4 against Nestor, but they wanted to load the bases up to get to another lefty, Freddie Freeman, first pitch, home run. He threw 2 pitches, Nestor. One pitch to Ohtani, who popped up for like out number 2 or whatever it was. And then the second pitch he threw was a meatball, 93 miles an hour, right down the poop chute. A perfect pitch for the lefty. He located it in the perfect spot for lefties with the way they have their natural like uppercut swings, and Freddie Freeman tanked it. He blasted it into outer space, as he should, because he's a good hitter. And anybody who sees that pitch down the dick like that I would have hit that pitch. That's how bad it was. And I felt bad for Nestor because he only had 2 pitches. But I wasn't terribly mad at that move, only because he's, the Dodgers didn't see him. The Dodgers, with Dave Roberts as their manager, they're going to go back and look at endless hours of tape and scouting reports. And I'll get to that in a second. We'll talk about that in a second. So, with Nestor, they didn't have that. So maybe this is something that but you don't throw Freddie Freeman fastball first pitch like that. Drop a hammer. Drop a hammer. He was looking for the fastball. He even said it. I just wanted to sit there. I hadn't seen him yet, so I was just waiting to see what the fastball looked like. You can't be that predictable. That goes back to the fact that these guys aren't pitchers anymore. They're not. The catchers aren't calling games to go. Like, they're just stupid. Okay? They're just stupid now. Anyway, those decisions of when to pull Garrett Cole, when to pull Kahnle, when to pull Luke Weaver, who to put in after those, like all of those stupid decisions in that first game contributed to that loss and contributed to the loss of the series. Once they lost that game, it was almost like, nope, that was their chance. Because if they win that game, the momentum is different. The mindset's different. They're playing a little bit looser because they have the game. They're ahead and they have the game. They know they accomplished the goal of the first mini series away. Split the series. They got it. Now the pressure's on the next game, and the score didn't reflect it, but they got their shit emotionally pushed in the second game. It was not a competitive game at all. The score came in close because they scored some runs towards the end of the game that ended up not mattering, and they lost. And the same with when they went over to New York. Same thing. Game 3, absolutely not competitive. They lost 4-2, but it was they were dead the entire game. The Dodgers won basically every single pitch of every single inning that game. The Yankees were dead. They did nothing all game until the end, just like game 2. Not to mention the fact that Fat Joe completely jinxed them. I don't know why they did that. I know the Dodgers had Ice Cube come out in game 1 of the World Series to hype the crowd up, but I thought it was stupid. And then as soon as I saw Fat Joe out there, I was like, oh, the Yankees are trying to do what the Dodgers did. This is not going to go well. And of course it didn't. The fat bastard stunk it up singing. He also stamped all over the mound with his Timberlands on. Like, know the superstitions of baseball, dude. You don't go stamping around and jumping up and down on the mound, walking on it like that before a game. The only people that should be going on the mound before a game are the grounds crew and somebody's throwing the first pitch and doesn't want to throw from in front of the mound because they want to be, respectable. Derek Jeter threw out the first pitch. Of course, he's going to go from the mound. That's it. Those are the only people. Fat Joe should not be on the mound blasting his Timberlands on top of the rubber in the mound like that. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Yanks are losing this game too. They're going to go down 3-0 now because Fat Joe had to get his fat ass all over the mound. And sure as shit, I think the Yankees felt it. As soon as they saw that, they're like, we're cooked. And the Dodgers are like, these losers are cooked. And they dominated them mentally. And then game 3, they got a home run in the 9th inning to go down 4-2, and they still got dominated and lost. And then game 4, they turned it around. They won the game handedly, like 12-2 or 12-5 or something like that. I forgot what exactly the score was. But I said it, and this is the Yankees all year. If they score double digits one game, they're usually going to goose egg the next game. They're going to lose the next game. They've only won one game. I'm pretty confident in this stat. If they score double digits the game prior, they've only won one game the next day. Every other day, they usually lay up a goose egg and get like 1 or 2 hits and shit the bed totally then. So when I saw that, I was like, great. Game 5 is going to be tough. And then the Yankees came in with that fake hope because they went up to a 5-0 lead. And then the wheels fell apart again in the worst way imaginable. Almost the funniest way imaginable. Because the Yankees were the Yankees. The Yankees were the same team they were all year, and it just came out in that inning so aggressively. And I was literally texting a friend after they scored the 5th run. By the way, Stanton had like 3 RBIs in that game. We'll talk about Stanton in a second, but as soon as I got the 5th run, he's cheering. He's like, oh my God, this is great. And I was texting him, this is usually the part where the Yankees get complacent, comma, they shit the bed, comma, and then the pressure is back on them. Even if they're winning, the pressure goes back on them, and they end up losing the game. Period. I hope that doesn't happen. Period. I hit the send button, and the 5th inning of Game 5 unfolds the way it did. And if you watched the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't watch the game, here's a quick recap. Aaron Judge misses a fly ball at his chest. He starts looking at the runner, and the ball hit him in the glove, and it dropped down. That's 1 out that they missed. What else happened? Walks happen. Volpe had an error. A ground ball came to him. He went to throw it to third to get the force out, and he hopped it over to Jazz Chisholm. 15 feet away, he short hopped him because he's not good. He's not Jeter Jr. I'm sorry. I like Volpe, but I hate the Jeter Jr. shit. He is not the next Jeter. Stop trying to force the next Jeter on him. He is not. Okay? And every time you say that, and every time he makes a regular average play or an error, you're going to be wondering why. This is the next Jeter. Jeter wouldn't have made that error. That's because he's not Jeter. Nobody will be Jeter. Only Jeter is Jeter. It's only one. And Volpe will never be that. He is an average at best major league ball player. That's still better than me, and I don't hate the guy. It's not like he's walking around saying, hey, I'm Jeter Jr. This is pressure being put on him, so I feel bad for him in that sense, but you have to stop with that. Jeter would never, ever short hop the third baseman like that. Jeter made some errors, very rarely, though, and that would never have been one of them. So that loads the bases or whatever it was. Then you have another walk, I think, and then you have a missing error. I'm missing errors. There was a dinky hit by Edman on the Dodgers where he broke his bat, but it still got a hit. Luck of the draw. And then you have a 2-out ground ball to Rizzo at first, and the one mistake Garrett Cole made is he didn't cover first base. He thought Rizzo was going to get to it, and he thought Mookie Betts, who hit it, was not going to hustle down the line, because I guess he thought Mookie Betts was a Yankee who doesn't hustle down the line, because that's what most of the Yankees do. They don't hustle down the line. I guess he thought the guy was wearing pinstripes, so he's like, oh, this guy's jogging. I don't have to cover first base. And if he cover first base, they get that third out, and the inning is over. Instead, 5 unearned runs the Dodgers got. They scored 5 runs to tie the game up in one inning, and not one single run was an earned run. Now, I played baseball most of my life, up until I was 23 years old, and then again in my 30s with that men's league that I dominated. And we talked about that previously. And all those times, all the games I've played and all the games I've watched as a fan, thousands of games I've watched, I don't remember ever seeing a team give up 5 unearned runs in a game, let alone one inning. 5 unearned runs is a video game stat. It's a video game stat in an old N64 video game where you can use cheat codes and stuff. Never seen that before. That's how bad it was. It was an unprecedented, shitty inning for the Yankees. And it was all stuff that they've been doing all year. Stupid mistakes, lazy playing, complacency, zero fundamentals, zero baseball sense. And it came back to bite them. And that is one thing we were right about here, was that all year long we were saying this team stinks and it's going to come back to bite them. And I'm almost pissed at it that they actually made it to the World Series. I wish they just would have got knocked out early on, and that would have been that, because they gave me false hope that they actually could have pulled this off. Which is crazy too, because now looking at how bad the league was, this was the year to do it. 5 earned runs and 1 unearned runs in one inning. And then they took the lead, and then they made more mistakes. More base running mistakes, more fielding mistakes, more out of position mistakes. Mistakes, walks, stupid play, everything. And I said it, you can't make this many mistakes in a game and win the game. Nobody makes this many mistakes in a game and wins the game. And sure as shit, they lost the game. And Boone took out Garrett Cole again. Now, he had 108 pitches this time. It wasn't 88. He had 20 more pitches. But he took him out again in the 7th inning. He had one bad inning, Garrett Cole. And he did something that was one of the most impressive things you'll see from a pitcher, an MLB pitcher, is he had a catastrophic inning, the 5th inning. And he made a terrible mistake. And then he came back to, and that's when that happens, usually your coach takes you out there. And if he doesn't, you get lit up the next inning. You're done. Mentally, emotionally, you're done. You give it up, and it's all over. Garrett Cole came back and dominated the next 2 innings. He shut the door on them the next 2 innings as if that 5th inning never happened. And then what does Aaron Boone do? Takes him the fuck out. Takes him the fuck out, and he puts other people in. It didn't matter at that point. Once he took him out, I forgot who he put in. Canely. He put in Clay Holmes. I'm happy Clay Holmes actually had a good inning or good batter. He walked a guy on 4 straight pitches, but then he turned around. He has to do that. He has to get a guy on base. He has to give somebody a base. So he did that. He got that out of the way, and then he got an out. And then he put Canely in, who walked the house to set up, more Dodgers runs. And then I forgot who he put Luke Weaver in again. I forgot who else he put in. Mark Leiter. It didn't matter at that point. It was already lost. Now, here's my issue with both times him taking out Garrett Cole. Now, there's a lot of people out there arguing, well, he took out Garrett Cole in the first game because he wanted to save his arm for another game in the series because they needed him to be fresh for another game in the series. This is where I call bullshit, okay? One, it's the World Series. Okay? This is your ace pitcher. The guy gets paid $36 million a year. This is exactly what he gets paid to do. Okay? This is not the regular season. This is the last series. There are no more games after these 7 games, if there are 7 games. There's no more games for the whole season. This is why you pay this guy $36 million to be in these positions and to go as long as possible. Okay? Garrett Cole, if you asked him, he would have went a complete game in game 1, and he would have come back in game 4 to do the same thing. And if you don't believe me, look what the Dodgers did in game 5. They put Walker Buehler in on 2 days rest to close that game out. And what did he do? He came out and he shut the door and he closed the game out. Because it's the goddamn World Series. Okay? It is the last kit and caboodle. That's it. It's the last hurrah. This is what you play the whole season for. This is what you pay the guys millions of dollars for, to get here and do everything it takes to win this series. Okay? And Aaron Boone is sitting there on his stupid little iPad, chewing his seeds, looking at the analytics. Oh, the analytics say 88 pitches is a lie. We want to make sure he's rested for game 4. So it's the World Series, you stupid bastard beta bitch boy bum. It is the World Series. You cuck simp bitch. You peacetime consigliere bitch. It is the World Series. Keep that guy in there for 9 goddamn innings. He is your number 1 pitcher, and he's dominating this team. He pitches the whole game until he gives up the lead. And then guess what? He comes out in game 4 and he pitches game 4 the whole time too. I don't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit about rest in the World Series. If you ask any player, ask Rizzo. Rizzo had broken fingies. He couldn't catch the ball. He couldn't hit the ball harder than 60-mile-an-hour exit velo. Rizzo had nothing but bases empty singles all playoffs because he had no power, because he had broken fingers. And he said it too. Normally, I would sit my fat ass out and rest up, but this is the playoffs here. This is what we play for. There's no way in hell I'm sitting for this. I'm doing whatever it takes to play. I'll take whatever shots needed. I'll take whatever drugs needed. I'm playing in these games. There is not one player in the pros right now with any level of self-respect who doesn't have that mindset. And this Joker Boone is taking their guys out to rest their arms. What are you resting their arms for? This is what you rest them for this moment. Both times. And he took him out both times. And that's what I was pissed about. So I don't give a shit. Oh, we're saving it for game 4. Walker Buehler did it on 2 days rest. And he was still throwing 96, 97, 98 miles an hour and shut the door on the Yanks in game 5. 2 days rest. And he started the game. He pitched 6, 7 innings or whatever it was. So don't give me that bullshit that he was going to be too tired. Ask Garrett Cole. He would have said, no fucking chance I would have been too tired. And that's the second mistake, I guess you could say, Garrett Cole made. He should have punched Aaron Boone right in the dick and said, go back to the fucking dugout, dude. There's no way you're taking me out. Don't be a bitch. Get back in the dugout. That's the only mistakes that he made besides that lazy, that lazy play with Rizzo at first base. That's it, the 2 mistakes. Otherwise, he shoved. And if I were him, I would ask for a trade. I wouldn't want to be a part of the team who plays like that with a bunch of fucking jabronis and a dickbag coach who doesn't know how to manage a team when the game's on the line. That's what pisses me off. So I don't care. Anybody who wants to come at me or anybody else who wants to say, oh, he was thinking about the next games. You don't think about the next games that much. You don't do it. Okay? You can't think about the next games if you don't put yourself in a position to get to the next games. And that's what Boone did. Boone took his team out of a position to think about next games. His boneheaded moves in game 1 lost them the series because every decision after that moment was basically to pick up the pieces for that boneheaded moment. And you just keep getting farther behind. And then it's like you're in quicksand. The harder you fight, the more moves you make, the more managerial decisions you make, the more and more you sink to the bottom. And that's what he did. He fucking sank his team to the bottom. And if he wasn't going to do it, their shitbag, piss poor performance out there on the field was going to do it for them. Because we've been saying it all year. The Yankees were not a good team. They had regular season Aaron Judge. They had Aaron Soto. That's not his name. They had Juan Soto. And they had half of the season Garrett Cole. And every once in a while, sporadically, they would have guys flash some streakiness of goodness. The end of the season was Gleyber Torres. He also came through in the playoffs in a big way because he's fighting for his contract. Now he realizes he needs his contract, so he's got to be good and actually care again. And even that still didn't work because he still was being Gleyber, and he was lazy on cutoffs, and he short hopped them, and all the mistakes that happened with him because he was being lazy. And that was it. That was the team. Everybody else was batting .240 with 150 strikeouts and 15 home runs. That was the Yankees the whole damn year. And their pitching was an absolute question mark the entirety of the season. The bullpen did pretty well. I'll give them that. The pitching did pretty well in the playoffs for the most part. There was a couple of moments. Luke Weaver got too tired. They pitched him they overpitched him, and he blew it for 1 home run. And then Clay Holmes, it's a law of averages. You put Clay Holmes out there with the game on the line, he has to beat Clay Holmes, and he's going to blow it. So you can't get mad at that. You get mad at Boone for putting him in, knowing that this is what's going to happen. Otherwise, the pitching I wasn't too mad about. They actually came through pretty well, all things considered. But the Yankees were not a good team all year. And the only reason why people thought that they were good is because the rest of the league sucked too. And we talked about it with the Orioles. I kept saying the Orioles should be pissed at themselves. They had a golden opportunity to run away with the division, and they shit the bed by sucking it up. But really, it was the whole league that sucked it up and made them look good. And then the Yankees showed who they were against a team who was actually good. And this is what happens, an embarrassing effort. The embarrassment wasn't that bad against the Indians because the Indians also made a bunch of bonehead plays because they sucked it up too. So the Yankees were able to cover their trails, to sweep their mishaps under their carpet a little bit. But not with the Dodgers. And we said it again all year. When the Yankees play an actual good team, they can't compete. And that's what happened, and in grand fashion. Grand fashion. And fans, Yankee fans should not be sad. They should be angry at Boone and at Cashman for this. I'm not even mad at the players. It's not, they grew up thinking it was okay to be stupid fundamentally, to not care about the basics of baseball, to be okay striking out 150 times, to not changing any approaches. They've been trained to do that. Nobody held them accountable their entire upbringing of baseball. So they suck. That's on their coaching and their upbringing and their development, because they think they're actually good, because that's all the people have told them this entire time. Yeah, you're doing fine. Don't worry about striking out 200 times. We don't care about that. So they think that's fine. So it's not really their fault that they suck. They just suck, because the leadership element failed them miserably for years and years and years. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And Cashman's going to go parading out there on the podiums the rest of the offseason saying, well, we made it to the World Series, so we were at least the second best team in the league. You got to give us that. You can't be mad about that. Don't say we didn't try when we made it to the World Series, when we all know the truth. And we've known it this entire time. The Yankees were not a good team, and you, Cashman, did not put them in a position to actually succeed when they need to against a good team. And Boone did not put them in a position to succeed when they needed to against a good team. Okay? It's on you two. And unfortunately, as long as Cashman's there, Boone's going to stick around too, because that's his guy, that's his puppet. And it was just completely frustrating and disappointing and absolute bullshit to see. I'm not surprised. I'm angry, but I'm not surprised, because they are who we thought they were this entire time. The series that they played is the exact Yankees in a nutshell. You want to talk about small sample sizes? That sample size does the best job you can possibly imagine showing who the Yankees really were. Two guys on offense doing everything, basically, with one guy also kind of doing something. And then one pitcher. Everybody else was a complete wild card crapshoot and usually just sucked. That's what it was the whole time. And don't get me started on the Dodgers. Look, they won. They were a better team. They deserved to win. I'm not mad about that. I don't like the Dodgers, and I'm mad that the Yankees lost. Obviously, I want them to win. But the Dodgers were the better team. They should have won the whole time. The thing I'm mad about with the Dodgers, the thing I hate, I think the Dodgers are stupid. What I hate them for is a couple things. One, I heard that loser Kike Hernandez talking about, hey, everybody counted us out from day one. They all said we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't have been here. And we, we were fighting the entire. Shut up, dude. You were favored the entire season. Yeah, you had a lot of injuries to a lot of good players, but your lineup was still an all-star lineup. You had MVPs in there. You had all all-stars. Your entire lineup was loaded with all-stars and MVPs. Your entire pitching staff was also pretty damn stacked. And you're going to be even better next year when those injured guys come back and you're a super team again that you bought and paid for. And good on you. That's what you should be doing. Buying championships. That's what you use that money for. But don't sit there and say everyone thought you counted you out and you were the underdog. Shut up, dude. You're a loser. You're a winner because you won the World Series, but you're a loser for that mentality. Whatever. I also hate them because, once again, Dave Roberts tries to make it sound like what they did was so much more grand and better and magnificent than it really was. Okay? Remember when I talked about him stealing that base against Mo in 2004 in the ALCS that triggered the collapse? Yes, that stolen base was absolutely important and led to the runs, the tying run scoring, and the whole series flipped on its ass after that. But the difficulty to steal a base on Mariano Rivera was not there. You just had to have a little speed, and you had to watch his windup 3 times total to know this is when I go. That's all you had to do. And he made it sound like he was in the locker room for hours studying tape and getting the timing right. And this, you didn't have cool, dude. You just wasted hours of your life for that. Anybody with a little bit of speed could have stolen that base as well. It wasn't that difficult to do. It was important. It was absolutely important and pivotal for the Red Sox to get that base, but all that, whatever. That was a useless effort. You didn't need to do all that. He did it again with the Dodgers. He was talking about, our entire time when we were prepping for this series, we had the scouting report on them, and we kept saying, like, we looked at hours of tape, and we looked at this team. The Yankees they're talent, but they have no fundamentals, and we got to be ready for that. What we had to do is we had to try to put the ball in play and rely on their fundamentals to go out, because they have the talent, they're good, but they're fundamentally not there. And also their defense is not that great. And we try to exploit that. We realize that this is this and this. And Guy, once again, you're making it sound like you were facing Darth Vader and you were one-armed Luke Skywalker. This wasn't a David versus Goliath situation. You were Goliath. Okay? You were Goliath. You were the super team. And your team was talented and fundamentally more sound than the Yankees. And that was an obvious thing going into it. Nobody with half a brain would have said otherwise, except for that idiot Kike Hernandez. You didn't have to spend hours watching tape to figure that out. In fact, hire me as your scout guy, because I want to get paid that much, because I wouldn't have to do anything. 90% of my job would just be watching baseball and enjoying my life and being a millionaire. But you paid these guys to go hours of tape and footage and recon and this and that. For what? All you had to do was look at their lineup and their roster card and then watch 3 games. In fact, you could have just remembered how the Yankees played against you guys in the regular season, and you would have had all the information you needed. The analytics all showed instantly. You don't need hours to get the analytics these days. It instantly shows. And you could go person by person around the field to get this information instantly without hours and hours and all this effort. All you had to do is, hey, analytics guy, get me this defensive information. Hey, team, here you go. Put the ball in play. We'll break it down for you guys. And this is me. I don't have any analytics at hand. I'm just a fan who watched the games. Okay? You have Soto in right field. He had to play right field for the Yankees because he's not a good outfielder. And he can't be DH because they have Stan. And I'll talk about Stan in a second. I already did. He's the hero. But regular season Stan he can't play the field, and you still need his bat. He still batted 250 this year, 260 with 30 home runs. And a lot of laser beams at people. So you need he's the DH. So Soto had to play the field. Right field is the smallest field and the easiest to play at Yankee Stadium. He had to play right field. Aaron Judge is a right fielder. He's not a center fielder. So now he's out of position. Verdugo, also not really a great fielder. And he's not really a left fielder either, but he's a better left fielder than Soto would be and Judge would be, so he's a left fielder now. Okay? All 3 of those guys are out of position. First base, absolute crapshoot because Rizzo was hurt the whole time, and when he wasn't hurt, he sucked. So they had Birdie out there. They had DJ LeMahieu out there. They had Cabrera out there. They had everybody out there playing first base at one time or another. That position was filled with holes. Let's go to second base. Gleyber Torres. Gleyber had a good offensive outing in the playoffs, no doubt about it. He was on base every single game, almost every single at bat. He was an offensive animal out there, and I'm happy about that. But defensively, even in the playoffs, he made a ton of mistakes that cost the Yankees runs, and chances of success. And in the regular season alone, again, get your analytics guy. He had the most errors of any second baseman, and he had the most bad decisions of any second baseman. And what a bad decision is, a play that doesn't result in an error, that may even result in an out, but that was not the best play to make in that scenario. Maybe a better play would have been going to, somewhere else that keeps a double play in play or this and that. Like, they have these analytics now that show this decision was not a smart decision. It got an out, or it wasn't an error, but it was not a good decision to make because the better decision would have helped your team out more in these reasons, in these ways. And he led the league in bad decision-making at second base. So essentially, he was the worst second baseman in the league. Okay? Shortstop, Jeter Jr. He's average fielder at best. He makes a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes. He's also young, so you can't expect him to be that good because he's not Jeter. And the only reason why, and I don't want to hear the arguments of he's a Gold Glover. The only reason why he was a Gold Glover last year is because the guy who really should have been the Gold Glover, who was actually good at shortstop, Wander Franco, is a child sex predator, and they couldn't give him the award. You can't give a pedo the award. Okay? He's been suspended indefinitely because he's a child sex predator. And by default, Volpe won the Gold Glove. Okay? Let's go to third base. First half of the season was Cabrera, LeMahieu, somebody else. Maybe Birdie played third as well. And then they got Jazz Chisholm. Now, here's the thing about Jazz Chisholm, folks. He's never played third base a day in his life. Okay? That's now your third baseman. A guy who the first time he ever played third base was when he got traded to the Yankees. Okay? Catcher, you have a rookie in Wells who wasn't terrible back there, but he's still a rookie, got a lot to learn. Or you had Trevino, who lost his fastball, we'll call it. He used to be a decent defending catcher, and he became an absolute liability for the entire Yankees program, offensively and defensively. He couldn't hit anymore. He wasn't great a hitter to begin with, and he couldn't do anything in the field anymore. He gave up stolen base after stolen base after stolen base. He was a guaranteed. Every time a team saw him behind the plate, they're like, we're stealing bases all day long. That's the Yankees defense. All you had to do was look at their lineup and see that and be like, oh, these guys are not good at defense. Let's just put the ball in play and we'll be able to figure it out. Okay, I just broke it down in 10 minutes for you guys. Did that take hours, Dave Roberts? Did that take hours? Really? Really? I don't think so. Okay? So, really good scouting and game plan right there that you could brag about with your team, that David took out Goliath. No, you were Goliath. You were playing an inferior team, and you beat the inferior team as you should have. If you lost any more games, people would have started to question your abilities as a manager. Like, why can't you beat the Yankees? These guys were garbage. So I don't want to hear about it. Now, the only good stuff about the playoffs at all with the Yankees, Garrett Cole was pretty good. He made a couple mistakes. He was pretty good. Aaron Judge stunk. I'm sorry. Aaron Judge in the playoffs, terrible. He just switched roles with Stan. And that's what the team became. Regular season, it was Judge and Soto all year long carrying the offense with a couple guys every once in a while having flashes. In the postseason, it was Stanton and Soto carrying the offense the entire postseason with a couple flashes, Glaber here and there. That's what the Yankees offense was all year. Two fucking guys. And Stanton was a goddamn hero. Every single time that guy got out, you could see he had the eye of the tiger. You could see it in his eyes. Every time he stepped to the plate, he was a different animal. And just when you thought, this is when Stanton's going to become Stanton and swing out of his ass and blow it or hit a double play, whatever, he came through in the clutch. That guy, keep him on the team until he dies. I will never shit talk Stanton ever again especially in the regular season, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are on the regular season, because in the playoffs, if you don't do shit, your team's not going to win. Judge. But that guy he's a hero for life in my book. Every time I see him out there on the field regular season, that's my guy. That guy would not be denied. If the Yankees needed a clutch hit and Soto wasn't up, Stanton was the guy. And if Stanton wasn't up, Soto was the guy. Those were the three guys that you can hang your hat on, and Gleyber getting on base. It seemed like for a while, it was basically Gleyber got on base, Soto got on base, Judge struck out. That was the first inning of every game in the playoffs. And then Stanton came through. Giancarlo Stanton is a hero for life. I might get his name tattooed on me. I love that guy. His only thing now he has to do left before he can retire is he has to put somebody down with a line drive. I can't let him retire until he hits the ball 200 miles an hour and absolutely destroys somebody. You saw what happened when he hit that pitcher last year. He hit a ground ball and broke that guy's foot, that pitcher's foot. He hit the ball so hard, it hit the earth to slow down, supposedly, and it still broke the guy's foot when it hit him. The earth couldn't slow that ball down. I want to see him do it. When I have a terminal illness and there's no time left on the clock for me and it's all over, I'm going to make a wish, and I'm saying, put me on the mound, no L screen, with a pitching machine, and stand at the plate hitting batting practice, and I want him to knock the lights out for me. I want him to hit a line drive right in the kisser. Pow. And that's it. That's how I want to go. If I have a terminal illness, that's it. I want Stan to do it for me. He's a hero for life. Cole, no problems with him. Gleyber, offensively, no problems from him. Defensively, problematic. Soto, no problems. Defensively, he was problematic, but not as bad. It was a given. You knew that, going into him, kind of Gleyber. But Soto came through in the playoffs. He's a dog. Now, his future, I really want the Yankees to sign him. I don't think they should sign him for $600 million or more. He's great, and he's young, and he's got a lot of upside, but I don't know if it's worth that much. I just don't know. For one guy, the only reason why the Dodgers got away with it with Ohtani is because it's all deferred money, and it's not real. It's basically they paid $480 million for him, which makes more sense because Judge is better than Ohtani, and Judge got paid $500 million or whatever he got. I forgot what Judge got, but maybe he got 300. I don't know. But I want them to keep Soto, but I just don't know what the threshold is. He was so good in the playoffs too. I really like him. He is a Yankee style guy, a New York kind of guy. I love his attitude. He's the only player in all of baseball that goes up there and competes every single pitch of every single at bat that he has. You never see that. Look at Stan. I love Stan. He's the hero for life. Stan competed in the playoffs. He did not have that same mindset in the regular season at all, and he would tell you that. What I don't understand is why not. It doesn't take any extra effort or physical strength or anything like that to overexert yourself at all to be that competitive every at bat. And Soto was the only guy to do it. And I love that. I want more guys like that on the team that I root for, on my team, if I had a team. So I really want them. I don't know what's going to happen. He probably won't go. Everyone's saying the Mets, Steve Cohen's going to pay him $1 billion. I don't know. A Creature said the Nationals. I think it could be the Nationals. They have the money. They have the space. Soto's young enough where they don't have to win the World Series next year. They can build a team up around him. They might make him an offer. They are cheap, though, so we don't know if they're going to put out. The Dodgers say they're interested. I don't know how much more money that they can spend. If they're going to try to probably offer him deferred money, and if Soto's smart, he's going to be like, no, take your deferred money and shove it. I want the money now. I don't want it when I'm 80. So who knows what's going to happen? I hope it's the Yanks. We'll see. Judge needs to look in the mirror. I don't know how to solve the problem of Aaron Judge in the playoffs, but he needs to do some soul searching. I would love to be able to speak with him and figure out what's going on up there, see if I can help him. But that was an abysmal performance by Aaron Judge in the playoffs all around. He had glimpses. Towards the end, he started getting better at the plate, but it was too little too late. He was abysmal. And the Yankee season came to an end. And this is what makes me the most mad. And I said it already, is that the Yankees ownership and Brian Cashman are going to say, and even Boone are going to say, well, we made it to the World Series. That's super difficult to do. Even the best teams in the league don't always make the World Series, let alone win it. And we made it. So we're clearly a good team. So we don't have to do anything different. We don't have to make any changes and get better. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. They have some of the stupidest baseball minds in their organization right now. Nobody changed their approach whatsoever at the plate all year, except for Rizzo. The only thing Rizzo did, though, is he would choke up with 2 strikes and then still take the same home run swing on 2 strikes. Now, what Rizzo should really do is think about, hey, Rizzo, you're getting older, okay? You used to crowd the plate because you were quick enough to turn on those inside pitches and you took that part of the plate away from pitchers. You're not quick enough anymore. You constantly swing and miss at those pitchers, or you pop them straight up. Adjust your goddamn plate approach. Adjust it. Okay? Back up a little bit. Give yourself a chance to succeed. What was working for you is no longer working for you. Okay? When that happens, you have to change. You have to adapt. Jazz Chisholm just swings for a 10-run home run every single swing. Doesn't matter what the count is. These guys did not make any approaches whatsoever. They didn't change a goddamn thing about it, except for Soto and Stanton, basically. And you can see it at their at-bats. Even the Dodgers, you can see at their at-bats when they had 2 strikes, you could see how they shortened their swings and they were just trying to foul balls off to keep the at-bats alive until they got the mistake pitch. The Yankees didn't do any of that shit. They were not a good team all year. And why did it take this long for the analysts and the experts to realize it? This should not have come as a shock. And I don't want to hear these guys saying now, well, the Yankees were bad all year. You weren't saying that tune until just now. So you, at the very least, raise your hand and say, I was saying they were good, but they really weren't, and I admit that. Don't try to take credit like you knew the whole time. We have the taste. We have the receipts of you sucking them off all year. And then coming now backtracking. Not here at the LPDS. We knew they sucked all year. I was happy with the success they had, given the circumstances. And I'm happy they made it to the World Series, and I really wanted them to win. But we all knew they weren't going to win. They just were not good enough. And it makes me angry that they weren't good enough, not because they couldn't have been good enough, because they didn't do anything to improve themselves. And that's all I got, folks. That's all I got on that. My throat's hoarse. It's late at night. I'm pissed. I'm sad. There's no more baseball. Now I got to watch the Giants, and you're going to have to hear me bitch about the Giants, and they stink too. That's football, folks. New York football Giants stink. Anyway, before we go, the big 3, very quickly, the 3 pillars of staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being, and spreading that goodness and positivity to all those around you and throughout the land. Number 1, exercise every day. Do one thing each and every day to improve your fitness and health physically, mentally, or emotionally. Number 2, don't be a shitty person. Be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to be shitty or negative, whether in response to somebody or just in general, to initiate shittiness, detach from the emotions, take the LPDS step back, and omit yourself from the situation. Just don't do it. Number 3, the most important one. Be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you can do this every day by when you wake up, think of at least one good thing in your life and think about how shitty your life would be like without that thing. And if you do all these 3 things, you couple all these together just a little bit each and every day, I promise you, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and push the notifications on or whatever you call it and hit that hotline 202-670-1114. Call it in. Bitch about what you want. I'm here for it. 202-670-1114. I didn't even get into the Yankees haters that came out of the woodwork. Not even going to bother with that. If you like hating people, if you get your jollies off of hating other teams and hoping they lose, that's a loser mentality. That's from losing franchise. You're a fan of a loser franchise, so you get it's a mental problem. I hope you get help. I could go on for hours about that. I completely forgot about that. Anyway, hotline 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.